Some Democrats, eager to decouple from the defund the police slogan, pushed a package of police funding and reform bills today. While some Republicans supported pieces of the package, others pushed back, claiming it will federalize local policing. Here's NTD's Melina Wisecup with the details.
This police reform legislation is a package of bills. One of those bills would provide federal funding to smaller local law enforcement agencies. Another bill would create a new grant program designed to train and dispatch mental health professionals to respond to emergencies which involve people with behavioral health issues. But for departments to qualify for this new grant money, there's a catch. The Mental Health Justice Act of 2022 reads that the federal government will manage the program in consultation with the Department of Justice.
Intervention, de-escalation training, public health and social work training, all administered by the increasingly corrupt and politicized Department of Justice.
This legislation would expand the federal bureaucracy unnecessarily, take over the responsibility of local governments, and add even more strings to federal funding for the Biden administration or future administrations to impose their woke agenda.
Most all Republicans voted no, with all Democrats voting yes. Two other bills in the package provide grants, one for violence intervention, the other to help stop violent crime.
As the chief of police in Orlando, we were laser focused on reducing violent crime. I asked my colleagues who love to talk about violent crime, join us in helping to reduce violent crime, but we were able to do so because we had the resources to do so.
And 30 Republicans indeed joined the Florida Democrat in passing her bill. Another police funding bill, the Invest to Protect Act, won overwhelming support from both sides, with 153 Republicans joining Democrats with a yes vote, though 9 Democrats, so-called progressives, opposed it.
Across our country, we have seen a rise in crime, and this is at a time when it's harder than ever to hire, recruit, and retain officers. It's clear if you want to make something better, you don't get there by cutting or defunding. You need to make smart, targeted investments.
It would provide grant money to police departments with fewer than 200 officers to help them recruit more officers, purchase new equipment, and more. But even amid considerable Republican support for the police funding bill, some in the GOP say the timing is telling.
An election just over a month away, House Democrats now want to pretend they actually support law enforcement.
The Invest to Protect Act has the best chance of succeeding, considering the overwhelming support from Republicans in the House. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
And to assess this new bill on policing, we sat down with Congressman Russ Fulcher of Idaho earlier today.
Idaho Congressman Russ Fulcher, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me today.
Congressman, your colleagues on the other side, the Democrats today, they're really pushing a bill to vote on to fund the police. Why do you think we're seeing this sudden push?
Imagine that, after this long-standing effort to defund the police, restructure law enforcement in America, and make it much more of a social program. Now all of a sudden they have a mindset change. And shocking, isn't it? I mean, you look at the crime levels in Chicago and New Orleans, and they are seeing the blowback of that. They see the American people are just disgusted with this whole effort in trying to govern with a nation that doesn't honor rule of law anymore. And so now, 40 days prior to an election, all of a sudden, maybe they're starting to see the light.
Congressman, you mentioned the elections. It's a time when I'm sure you hear more from your constituents from both sides of the aisle. What are you hearing are some of the main issues?
Very, very clearly, you got inflation and the gas prices, the grocery prices right up there. You've got the whole energy issue. You've got the security issue, which is both rule of law and law enforcement and supporting that, and the southern border, where the horrifically bad trafficking is taking place and the illegal immigration. And you know what? That's the case all the way across my state. And I've been going to other states as well, trying to help some of my colleagues in their election races. And it's the same there. It doesn't matter. Red state, blue state, swing state, the same issues. And that's it. It's inflation and security in one form or another, one of those two things.
Congressman, why do you think we're seeing a lot of Democratic voters, specifically a lot of immigrant constituents and voters, that are leaning toward the Republican stance on illegal immigration?
Because they're getting overrun. They're seeing the negativity that the mainstream media refuses to report or tries to filter. You know, they're realizing that an open border is not compassion. An open border is tragic for everyone, the existing American citizen taxpayer and for the people coming across the border. If you don't have a filter, if you don't have a rule of law and rules governing the process, then by default, in our case, the cartels take over. And they're controlling it. And their interests are human trafficking, drug trafficking, the whole illegal immigration component where they make money off of. People see that. You don't have to, it's a nonpartisan issue. Everyone is being damaged by this. The Democrats are seeing that, which is one of the main reasons why I think we're going to see a significant change in November.
Major banks pulled investments from Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. So now the question turns to what they do if China invades Taiwan. Top bank executives are grilled in a congressional hearing. NTD's Iris Tao has more on their answers.
JP Morgan.
Top executives of the largest U.S. banks are here testifying before Congress and getting pressed on thorny issues like China.
Should the CCP follow through on its threat to invade Taiwan, are your banks prepared to pull your investments out of China?
We'll follow the government's guidance, which has been for decades to do, to work with China. And if they change that position, we'll immediately change it as we did in Russia.
The questioning comes as lawmakers warn about risks of investing in volatile nations ruled by dictatorships.
And number two, your investments play a significant role in supporting those nations' economies.
And here's what the head of JP Morgan says when asked
if an invasion of an American ally would be enough for JP Morgan to make the moral determination to stop doing business with the Chinese Communist Party.
We'll have to decide when that happens.
And on the question of they support a free and democratic Taiwan.
I support freedom and democracy everywhere. I'm not going to specifically comment on Taiwan.
The CEO of Citigroup, meanwhile, says they will likely have a reduced presence in China if it invades Taiwan. But outright condemning the regime's human rights record is another story.
So will you condemn the ongoing human rights abuses in China at the hands of the Chinese Communist Party?
Condemn is a very strong word.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So is genocide and slavery.
Yes. We certainly are very distressed to see it going on, and we do not want to have human rights abuses happening anywhere in the world.
Wall Street giants, including JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, have in recent years tried to expand their businesses in China, the world's second largest economy. And Senator Tommy Tuberville tells NTD that more people need to recognize the Chinese regime for what it is.
They're our number one adversary, but we've got a lot of corporations that are pumping up China and giving them the opportunity to finance what they need to in their military to possibly one day go into Taiwan.
Meanwhile, China responded to the hearing on Thursday, saying the U.S. should stop making an issue out of Taiwan. The acrimony comes as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Friday, and Taiwan is expected to be a topic of discussion. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Iris Tao, NTD News.